start the recording. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we just record the webinar so you can watch the information later on demand, and maybe there are some points that you want to revisit. Okay, so I'm Maximilian Homburg. I'm from the HTWG Konstanz, University of Applied Science, and I work at the Institute for Strategic Innovation and Technology Management. And I'm glad to host today with Charlotte Wallin from the Hochschule Kempten, the ARING Project Funding Live webinar. And yeah, we hope we can answer the two questions you can see on the screen: how to fund a transnational research project, together with Dr. Philipp Pfaller from the Bayerische Forschungsallianz, and later to answer the questions, the question how to build a fundable and successful project consortium, together with Christina Lang, also from the Institute for Strategic Innovation and Technology Management. So what's the agenda for today? First, I will have a warm welcome, and then a short introduction to the ARING project and why we are doing this webinar. The third point will then be the input from Dr. Pfaller on how to fund a transnational research project. And after that, we will have an input from Christina Lang, how to build a fundable and successful project consortium. We plan to have the webinar like 1.5 hours. So yeah. Okay, what's the ARING project? The ARING project is a project that tries to solve some questions that concern the overall Alpine region, and it's the Alpine Research and Innovation Capacity Governance Project. The goals are to create a basis for lasting transnational cooperations. That's why we have a project consortium that consists of nearly all regions that are involved in the Alpine region, to promote cooperation between policymakers, research clusters, research in general, and businesses from the Alpine space. We also want to shape the framework for the development of joint Alpine research and innovation policies, so we can exploit synergy effects in the Alpine region, and yeah, can build smart specialization strategies that exploit the synergy effects. So we therefore analyze requirements of the different regions in the Alpine space. We offer methodologies to tackle joint challenges, and we want to connect innovators from the regions so they can innovate in joint projects. One result of the project is that the Alpine region has 3 super topics that are concerning most, if not all, of the regions in the Alpine space. The first super topic is digital transformation. So we have the joint challenge of the transformation of production, Industry 4.0, and artificial intelligence. We also have the joint challenge to make mobility smart and to transfer to a more sustainable way of mobility, like e-mobility, for example. And we all have the joint challenge to move to more sustainability. There are topics such as circular economy, renewable energy, alternative energy sources, and clean production. So these are super topics within the Alpine region that are concerning most, if not all, of the regions within the Alpine space. So we have some results from businesses and academia, our stakeholders in the project, and 3 points that are coming from these stakeholders are that in the future, they want more cooperation, especially between businesses and academia. So here are the cooperation between academia and SMEs are essentially essential to move forward to more innovative project within the Alpine region to tackle the 3 super topics and to move to more cooperation between the stakeholders. The stakeholders want more opportunities to network. So more events, more platforms and workshops where they can network and find partners for innovative project. And on the other hand, we found out that there is a need for special funding programs where 2 to 3 actors are able to be funded, and especially funding programs for cross-border collaborations. So that's why we are offering this webinar to tackle the second part and have a deep dive into how to get funded. There are funding programs, how to get them, which funding programs are even available for cross-border collaboration, and are there funding programs for such projects. The first question, the opportunities to network, we are testing right now, and we have been testing a month ago with the A-Ring transnational matchmaking seed lab. So we thereby test matchmaking platforms. We offered a platform for project partners to meet each other, to get to know stakeholders from different regions with the same interests. And we guided them through a design thinking workshop so they can get to know each other really well by working together. And we had some really good results from the platform. And we hope to see more results with the platform in the future. Okay, so that's a small input from my side on the project and why we are here today. And I want to give to Dr. Philipp Faller. And thank you for joining this webinar and for helping us to answer the question how to fund a transnational research project.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me today here at this webinar. I will share my screen in a second. So, okay, now you should see my presentation, right?
Yeah, okay, we can see the presentation.
Yeah, so the question how to fund transnational projects, of course, is a wide and sometimes complex question. There are many answers, and today I will tackle this question with a very specific view out of our ArdiaNet project, which is funded, as you can see on the upper right corner, from the Interreg Alpine Space program, the same as A-Ring, the A-Ring project. And I hope we will have also some time for discussions, because when you are thinking of transnational projects and funding opportunities, you of course could think about the big European programs like Horizon Europe or Erasmus Plus and these opportunities. But today we will look with ArdiaNet on the cross-regional funding and some maybe more specific, a bit easier suggestions, maybe on the early stage, how to start in this whole funding and cross-border cooperation endeavor, I would say. Before I go to the agenda, I want to give some really short introduction to the Bavarian Research Alliance. So we were funded in 2006 and 2007 by the Ministry of Science in Bavaria and our associates, the associations of the universities in Bavaria and the universities for applied sciences. So we are funded by our associates and the Bavarian Ministry of Science, so we can work as a state-funded company and provide our services to a variety and different kinds of institutions in our regions. So here again, a quick overview of our 3 offices. So the headquarters is in Munich, 1 branch is in Nuremberg, and 1 in Brussels. So we can also get some close insights from the Brussels sphere, where, as you all know, a lot of important decisions for especially the funding questions and also regional policies are made. I already said we are giving services to institutions in Bavaria. This means we are supporting institutions in Bavaria for free, but not only the institutions in Bavaria, but also their partners. So if there's an institution in Bavaria applying or searching for funding opportunities, we support this Bavarian institution and their partners in, for example, information. This means informing about EU calls, especially informing about what is needed for a successful application. We also can do lobby activities through our Brussels office. This is a long, let's say, a long range or a long-term mission. So if you want to place your ideas or your topics in the Brussels discussions, then this would take some time. But we can support you there. The other services are advisory service and concrete application support for EU funding. So we help you to find the fitting program, the fitting research topic, and then we support you in writing the application. So we do not write it for our Bavarian institutions and their partners, but we support this whole process with templates, with really in a deep support on the content side with our different units we have at BIFOR. And when a project is funded, we support in the implementation of projects, and for example, in questions like the grant agreement preparation, legal and financial issues, and finally the project management, which we can do this project management as a partner in bigger EU projects. But since this is a specific, more let's say, specific service for Bavarian institutions and their partners, I will not go into further detail about our services as an institution, but I would like to switch to the ArdiaNet project and the topic for today's webinar. So if you are interested in further questions about the Bavarian Research Alliance, you can write me an email or contact me by phone or something like this. But today we will go to the webinar's topic and switch now to a short agenda that I would like to do today. So I give you some instructions, some goals that we have in ArdiaNet, some theoretical concepts we developed, and of course, more interesting, the practical experience, and hopefully some time for discussions, because I think there will be some ideas that you maybe not never heard of, but haven't heard as much as maybe the idea of applying for big European funding programs. So some initial introductory input and ideas of our ArdiaNet project. So ArdiaNet is short for Developing an Alpine Space Research, Development and Innovation Area. So this is the overall goal that we had. We have 8 partners, which you can see here on this map. So from the right to the left, we have Antea in Slovenia. We have an innovation agency in Salzburg, Business Upper Austria, also an innovation and business support agency in Upper Austria. We have the Bavarian Research Alliance, so us in Bavaria, BioPro, our coordinator in Baden-Württemberg, and Sviluppo Chimica in the Lombardy region as our Italian partner, and in Switzerland, the University for Technology and Architecture in Fribourg, in the canton Fribourg in Switzerland. And our project is, the duration is 33 months. It's still going until June next year. So there are still some months ahead where you can also contact us, where we can maybe cooperate in maybe brainstorming, or if you want to discuss your ideas with us. So we are the next 6 months and over the 6 months, of course, in the future, we want to set up a sustainable network, but this is something I will tell you a little bit later. So what we are doing in our project, I already said, this idea of a research development and innovation area, and I need to, for a few minutes at least, to talk about something which is called the Smart Specialization Strategy. I think some of you know what this means, but I will introduce it. ARING is dealing with Smart Specialization Strategies, but I will shortly explain to you why I need to introduce this concept in the beginning. So Smart Specialization Strategies are innovation strategies by regional governments. So the regional governments, they take some years in planning ahead, where they have their topics for the future in innovation in the region, which they want to support and boost with, for example, funding programs, but also political strategies. And in these innovation strategies, in these S3 strategies, these our regions in Europe organize and structure their innovation ideas for the future. And this is important because alongside these innovation focus and these specialized fields that the regions are identifying for the future innovation ecosystems of their region, they are also implementing funding programs. So and now when we in the ArdiaNet project want to support and further develop the research development and innovation ecosystems in the Alpine space, we are closely connected to the regional funding programs, of course, because there the regions can implement their future ideas about the innovative potential of the regions. And now, based on these innovation strategies, we saw that there's a funding gap for cross-regional cooperation in the Alpine space. On the next slide, I will go a bit into detail here. So we have, in these regional strategies, we have funding programs that are tailor-made for the specific region, but cross-regional cooperation is not really a part of these regional programs. So what we identified is this gap that you can see here on this slide. We were posing the question in our project: how can we initiate trans-regional cooperation, which tackles the regional challenges and the regional problems that should be solved? So you can see here on the two axes the number of different Alpine regions that are able to cooperate in existing programs that are out there, especially on a European level, and the influence of regions on the program's scope. What does this mean? So if you look, for example, in the right corner here below, there's Horizon 2020. You all know this funding program, which ended last year. Of course, in Horizon 2020, a lot of regional actors can participate from all over Europe, but as these programs are designed, they are solving European challenges. The same for Aeronets, for Eurostars, for COSME. So if we want to tackle challenges that are addressing the Alpine space region, for example, Horizon 2020 and the new program Horizon Europe, they are really big. They are on a European scale, often on an international scale. So these projects do not really fit on this interregional problem solving and tackling of regional challenges. And then on the left, we have the possibility with more influence on the strategic contents of programs, for example, in national programs or in regional programs. But regional programs, as I just said, they are part of the individual S3 of a region. and they do not really allow cross-regional cooperation. So what we need is both. So a focus on the needs of the specific regions and a support of regional RDI challenges. And yeah, this is currently not existing. We have some solutions and also some best practice examples, which I will show you later. But this was our gap that we introduced, that we identified, the missing opportunity for cross-regional cooperation in research, development, and innovation. Before I go into further details, some further objectives and goals that we have in RDNet. So as I said, this regional development and innovation area, this should be strengthened. It is based on the smart specialization strategies because we want to support the regional goals in our macro region, the Alpine space. And in RDNet, we identified circular bioeconomy and health economy as some focus areas that are interesting for us. But in the end, we are interested in the overall question of supporting trans-regional and cross-regional cooperation in research, development, and innovation. So the other things that I think are already mentioned. And now we are coming to the interesting part where we have our first results. And on this scheme that I will explain to you now, we based all of our practical experience and our practical ideas that we have developed in the last 1.5 years. So what you see here are 3 options for cross-regional cooperation projects, how you could and how you can develop cross-regional cooperation in the Alpine space. Besides these programs that we have here that are sometimes too big, sometimes too regional, sometimes too national, and not really fitting this macro-regional challenges that we want to solve between the actors of our Alpine space regions, between Germany, Austria, Slovenia, Italy, Switzerland, and France. So the first option on the left says cooperation between single projects. So what does this mean? We have some details later and some examples we collected in the last month, but I want to explain it in a short way. So imagine you submit a project proposal in your region, for example, in Bavaria, and you have partners in Italy that you want to cooperate with, and they submit also a separate application to their regional program. So the funding programs are independent, the whole evaluation process is independent, but you have a second project, for example, which is the one is in Bavaria and the one is in Italy. And after these projects are both evaluated positively, hopefully, you can cooperate even if you don't have the same funding rules, you don't have the same funding program, you don't have the same submission situation, but you are still funded, you have the same or similar fitting topics of your project, and you can go into knowledge exchange, into innovation exchange. And this option 1, I think, is a very nice and good way to start cooperating. And this is what I will talk later in a bit more details, because you can, if you are just on your regional scale and you are posing this question, how can I cooperate in the future with my colleagues outside of my own region, in the other regions of the Alpine space, how can we come together? This is a very simple and very low-key idea where you can have a content-related cooperation with other partners without going into these complex and bigger funding programs. In the second pillar, we have the opportunities for cross-regional cooperation projects. This is what I won't go into much details into this today, because this is a more for the policy area, so where different regions can align their evaluation processes and then allow applicants to submit common ideas. So this is what I will leave a bit beside today. at the site today. And the third option, which I want to talk in detail today, is designing cross-regional funding programs. And we did this. We had a successful funding program which was launched before the summer, and I will show you this in detail a bit later. But now I would like to talk about option 1. So on the left picture, you can see a region 1, which has a funding program, and a region 2, which has also a funding program, and 2 project groups that would like to cooperate, but maybe the EU programs are too big, or the challenge they want to solve is on a smaller scale. And they say, okay, I just want to cooperate maybe with my partners in the Lombardy region. I don't want to, or I can't go to these big funding programs. I just need a very specific cooperation, a very specific possibility for working with my one partner in another country. And how can we proceed here? And this is currently very hard to come up with a common project if you are in this situation and if you want to apply for funding. So our idea was really this low-key support to support the discussion between these 2 groups, to help them with an idea that I also want to bring to you today. So group 1 says, okay, we just submit in our region. We submit our idea to our funding program, and you, our colleagues in this other group, in for example, the Lombardy region, you submit to your funding program. And after it's, you can see this on the right picture, the evaluators sitting there on their discussion table, they say, okay, project 1 will be evaluated, and hopefully the project of the group 2 is also evaluated. So then you can come together. We can support you in ideas for exchanging your knowledge, coming together. And this is one possibility for trans-regional cooperation, which does not need a big funding application, which does not need complicated big programs, but is a really easy to go opportunity. And we tested this. So what we did, we had partners from 2 regions, from Bavaria, a university and an SME, and from Fribourg, another university. These guys, they were working together in the past. They knew each other, and they said, hey, let's do something in manufacturing process for recyclable, thermoformable, natural fiber materials. This is their idea. So they don't want to go to the Horizon 2020 program, because they just want to do something together. And then our idea was, the university in Fribourg, they can apply for funding at a regional program which supports technology innovations. And they did. And the university and the SME in Bavaria, they also applied at a bottom-up open funding program for technology innovation support in Bavaria. And so this is still a work in progress, but this is what we are concretely helping 2 partners, a smaller SME, coming together with their partners in Fribourg without having these complicated and bigger programs. If someone is fit and big enough, let's say it like this, or experienced enough to go to Horizon Europe, of course, this is a good and very competitive, but a very good research funding opportunity. But if you are maybe starting to develop your interest for cross-regional cooperation, maybe you are an SME and you only have a few partners cross-border, but you know you want to do something together with them, this would be a possibility. You apply in your region for your regional program, the others apply in their region for their regional program, and if you are both funded, you can work together. Very low-key and very simple in the idea. And what you can see here, our bottom-up funding program that we collected in ArdiaNet, where you can submit, let's say, nearly anything that is related to technology innovation. depending on the bit on the topic you want to do. But for example, in Bavaria, the High Tech for the 21st Century program, this was the program the people here in Bavaria submitted. And in Canton Fribourg, there's an implementation program 2020-2023. And yeah, these programs are bottom up, so you can apply with almost any technological idea. And you also can tell in our case, it's the Bavarian Research Foundation, which is managing this program. You can explain to them also the idea to cooperate after the positive evaluation with the colleagues in Fribourg. This is often also considered a positive evaluation criteria. And so we were analyzing these funding programs in our different RDNet regions, and we're mapping the possibilities to submit here on a regional level. You will see that some of these programs are the running time is a bit outdated. This is due to the current development phase of the smart specialization strategies in our regions, which are not in some regions not finalized. So we will update this report, which is cited below, in the next months. But this is basically the idea: search a bottom-up regional program in Bavaria and, for example, in Fribourg, and then work together when the projects are funded. So this is one thing I want to discuss with you later. So existing partnerships support, getting support with the regional programs. Now I want to talk about a second possibility to go into transnational cooperation without applying for Horizon Europe and similar programs. And I want to look at an example together with you. So imagine you are working, for example, in the bioplastics area, and you are funded by the Bavarian program for new materials. So if you have a regional funded project, this is a very low-key and early stage situation. So you applied for funding, you have your regional program. And now what you can do to get connected to the European scale. So if you want to search for future partners, want to search for future networks, I want to show you something that you can do, and maybe I would be very interested in what you think of an idea like this. So there's a website called Cordis from the European Commission, and you could, for example, go here and search for bioplastics. So you have your regional bioplastics project, and you would like to identify partners on a European scale that can be that you can contact. You can establish or work on your network. So we are searching for projects, and then we have here something interesting. It's called the Developing and Implementing Sustainability-Based Solutions for Bio-Based Plastic Production and Use to Preserve Land and Sea Environmental Quality in Europe. Okay, so this is a very big consortium. They have a lot of partners. You are just a smaller SME in Bavaria having a bioplastics project, and you see here, okay, there's a lot of different organizations from different countries, which is way past your regional scope. But you think, okay, maybe I can connect here. Maybe they do something that we can maybe have a workshop together, to exchange some ideas, work together. So this project is running until September 2023. So this is still 2 more years. They are in the middle of the project, and here's a small button to go to their website, and then you're a small SME from Bavaria. This is a huge bioplastics project, and you go for the partners who is in this project. You have here the advisory board, but we saw on the project description here that the coordinator is in Hamburg. So I will see. Okay, so there's a Professor Dr. Walter Liel, and now I could even call him because there is his phone number. And this is maybe another possibility for you to open up your networks, get connected to bigger consortia, to bigger networks, to European scale ideas with only your regional project. And these are these ideas from our option one. So we were thinking in ArduNet how can we support smaller, very regional actors that want to do something with either their partner in another region without going to big European programs, or how they can work, or how they can get connected to your European scale without being necessarily part of such a project. But you can contact them. You can, and we did this in the past. We have several examples where we connected smaller regional projects with bigger European projects. And when you have complementary ideas, you can get connected very quickly with these networks, and they are normally very happy to be contacted by smaller projects and regional funded projects. So this is one idea we developed here for a very low key and easy way to get to your transnational cooperation without being part of bigger funding programs. And I would be very interested about your ideas on this. Then, before we can go into our discussion, I want to show you the option 3, which I said is a joint synchronized call. This is also ArduNet, so I hope I don't bring too many complicated details from this funding authority perspective to you, but I will try to explain it in a hopefully comprehensive way. So we are now switching the perspective. So we are not on the left side. We are not a project group. We are not applying for funding, but we are now funding program owner, program managing authorities. And we have our innovation strategy. We have our S3 in the back. We have our S3 containing our thematic areas that will be supported in the future in our own region. But now we will come together with other regional program owners, normally ministries responsible for research, and we discuss if we can come up with a common thematic idea with a joint challenge we identify across our regions that we want to fund in the future, and we want to develop a joint synchronized funding program. If we have, then we can bring in a coordination office. So on the right side, our program managing authorities, they decided, okay, let's do something together. We want to support new materials. You want to support new materials. We have a funding program in our region. You have also a funding program in your region. Let's do something together. Let's synchronize these calls. And then project groups can, from different regions, apply to our joint synchronized program. So here the perspective is the one of the program owners and not the applicants. And we also did this. This is a huge success of the ArduNet project, which was developed since the end of 2020. And 4 regions came together cooperating in the field of research and innovation. It was Salzburg, Canton of Fribourg, Baden-Württemberg in Germany, and Brandenburg, which is not in the Alpine region, but there were possibilities for cooperation. And then we said, okay, why not cooperating? This is something that we want to test, that we want to develop. So we were very happy to have other interested regions to join us. Our calls were artificial intelligence in healthcare applications and digital solutions into the sustainable industry. So these were topics that all the regions could relate to. All the regions had these topics as part of the innovation strategy. So they said, okay, let's do something together. And our coordination office coordinated and organized, for example, matchmaking events. And you can also have a look at this call for proposals from the Innovation Express 2021. You find the link in the presentation. And the very interesting part here is that it's again the regional programs that were part of a bigger initiative. So we have from Baden-Württemberg a specific regional program. In Brandenburg, it's Profit Brandenburg. And also in Fribourg, you again see here the implementation program for the regional policy 2020 to 2023, which we saw before. And in Salzburg, they also had a program. And it's the same logic. So we are trying to, from option one, where it is a very specific single project cooperation, which is a bit more low-key, which doesn't need to involve any program owners or managing authorities, to option three, where there's a high level of synchronization, a high level of coordination between the program managing authorities. And all these ideas are going in the direction to support and strengthen the RDI cooperation in our Alpine space macro region. And there will be an Innovation Express 2022. Preparation have already started. And yeah, this will be something for the next months. And yeah, so this is the Innovation Express that I would like to show you, which is what is possible if regional program owners work together. And now I will conclude my presentation. Just wanted to show you where you can find the results we published in 2021. So some case studies, some key elements where you can find the Alps Connect scheme, which I showed you earlier with our 3 options. And finally, an outlook, because these, especially option 1, where you saw that these single projects come together, this needs to be supported. There need to be some network to support our regional actors. And we want to work on a sustainable network even after our funding period. So in our final conference in May 2022, we will talk about the sustainability of the project. And if there are regional governments who maybe are part of the discussion today or who see this later, you can contact me or our coordinator, Sergi Costa and Vanessa Cash, if you want to join the next Innovation Express, and then we will connect you again with the responsible people working on this idea. Yeah, and these are my contact details. So thank you very much for your attention. And I know this is, maybe it's there are some new ideas, maybe some ideas different than you heard before, because we are trying to find new ways besides the existing funding programs and existing initiatives to close this gap of cross-regional RDI cooperation on a macro-regional level. And I hope we have some time left for some discussion. I would be very happy for if you would have some questions, and I would be happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you very much for this overview and for your very low-key and easy to implement options on how to fund transnational projects. I think that was exactly the presentation and the input that we were searching for. Thank you very much again. So I would open the room for questions. If you have questions regarding the input or maybe regarding your own project that you're planning, please don't hesitate to ask.
Maybe there's even someone with a regional funded project.
So maybe I go first if there are no questions yet. So do you know about any funding programs that are just like mini Interact programs that are trying to fill the space that you showed on your slide with an official program from EU side?
So no, so there's of course the Interact Alpine Space program, which supports cross-regional cooperation, but it's not a research program. So for the really research and development side, so if you want to develop some technologies and pilots and things like this, there's currently no program. So it's not possible to apply for cross-regional research and development in the Alpine Space macro region. I don't think in other region either. Then there are AeroNets. These are programs similar to the Innovation Express, but they are often financed by nations. So there are, for example, I don't know, Germany, France, and other EU member states setting up these AeroNet programs, which are funding transnational RDI projects. But again, then there's the regional perspective is missing. So this question mark we had in this one slide, so this missing of an opportunity to work in the research and development area with your partners from other regions in the Alpine space, it's not there. We can't do it.
Okay. Are there any plans in the future to implement? Do you know of plans to implement such programs?
I don't know. Hopefully the Innovation Express will become something, a regular thing, let's say it like this. So of course, there's discussions with representatives from the DG Regio in Brussels, which we had 2 weeks ago, the policy forum in our ArduNet project. We also had guests from the DG Regio, and if this, so it started with the Innovation Express 2021. Maybe in the next upcoming months or years, this will become something, more not being just an initiative from engaged actors, but becoming something more durable.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So please ask your questions if you have questions for Mr. Pfaller.
I don't know if there's someone with a regional project in the group, or with some experience in maybe also failing to find project partners in other regions, or to struggling with the idea to cooperate cross-border. This is also something which is of course interesting. If you say, okay, we tried, but what we failed, we couldn't find any possibility. This would also be interesting to discuss. Or if you say this was too complicated, please can you explain again or make it easier? This is also valuable feedback, of course.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe we don't get that.
I don't have any question, but I would like to say, I think this homepage, what was the name of it? The Corios. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that at all, and we are having a Horizon 2020 project. So I was putting it into the homepage and working perfectly. Until today, we are searching for partners through already existing partners. So I will have a look through different kind of topics, I believe, to see what are others doing, which partners are involved, and so to find new consortiums.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to, so if you have an Horizon project, of course, the same is possible. You search for other projects, and as we all know, projects that are funded by regional or European programs that are you almost have to cooperate with others, right? So it's one of the tasks every project has to connect to others, to form synergies, and Cordis is one possibility to find other projects, and I also think this is a very nice website.
And another question, sorry, I'm Charlotte Wallin from the University of Applied Sciences in Kempten. Forgot to say that. We were trying with Austria to make this, that they are having a local funded project, and we did have a local funded project as well, but we didn't find project that was going through the same time horizon.
Yeah.
So what is your suggestions for that? Because they were never on the same, I mean, when we wanted to start, they wanted to finish, more or less.
Yeah. This is a very common problem, which we also discussed in the beginning a lot. So we came up with this bottom up. I don't know in which programs your projects were funded, but the bottom up programs have sometimes the better situation because you can apply on a regular basis. So for example, the new materials program I showed before, they have a deadline in January, and then it might be that the program ends and you cannot apply again. But if you would use one of the bottom-up technology programs, then maybe you have the ones have the cutoff date in May, the others in September, but it's still a bit better than the ones having, then you have a year or something apart, or even no funding program available. So using the bottom-up funding programs is might be an option.
Okay, good.
To have this alignment. And of course, this is why we came up in the end with the Innovation Express, because in the Innovation Express, the regions try to align the submission dates and the starting dates.
Yeah,
it's not, yeah.
And I mean, when there's no other question, I'll take my third question, my last question as well. We are facing a lot that if you want to do a new consortium with a new topic, and you need to wait for a funding to get the call open, there's not enough time. Because if you are having some partners and you have been working with them before, it's pretty easy to write your application. Yeah. But if you are having a new consortium and you're only having a couple of months and you need to search for the partners before, it's what do you call it? It's you finish on the last second with your application. Yeah. most of the times. What is your suggestions, or should we search for the consortium before and wait for the right call to come? I mean, because it needs to be concrete as well.
Yeah. So my suggestion would be, so in all of our regions, I think we have some kind of support structures who also help with the partner search. So a lot of these ideas depend on this, I called it RDA network, this existing regional support agencies. So I think all of our regions spend some tax money on supporting agencies like the Bavarian Research Alliance, but especially, so let's say in Baden-Württemberg for the concrete topic of bioeconomy and health economy, you have, for example, BioPro, but there are also other like cluster organizations. So I would say using the existing support structures is here the best way to go forward, because they can help you in the partner search.
Okay.
Because I know what you mean. It's hard to find all the needed expertise until the deadline.
Yeah,
and sometimes you only finish 2 weeks before the deadline with all your
with the partner search.
Yeah, with the partner search.
And honestly, when you're working with SMEs, what is a very good target group at the moment? I mean, most of the calls are saying you should include SMEs at the moment. And if they have never done a research project before, it's pretty hard. I mean, I understand that as well. And you need to explain everything, and they need to double check it, and so on. So time is flying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely right. So the Europe, I don't know if you know the Europe Enterprise Network.
I heard about it, but we are not a part of it.
This is very good for partners. So this is all the regions in Europe have partners that support the regional universities and SMEs in this European enterprise network. So for example, the Bavarian Research Alliance is one of these support partners. I will send the link into the chat.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, but you have these support institutions that are so on the management, let's say on the management part of the Enterprise Europe network in almost or in all regions in Europe and also sometimes in other countries. So we are doing a lot with Tunisia currently. They also have offices that are part of the Europe Enterprise Network support structure, and they help you with finding especially SMEs.
Okay. Good.
And I think we have to make an appointment for maybe in January, because you are exactly posing the questions that we had during the RDNet phase.
Oh, okay.
So this is exactly what we were thinking about, and these are the challenges that are very common, and but not easy to solve.
Completely agree. Many thanks for your time, and I don't want to take the time from everybody else. So please ask your questions now.
Of course, you can contact me or my RDNet colleagues if you need to maybe think about these ideas of transregional cooperation.
Yeah. I will do that together with Corinna Schar. I believe in January. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Faller, thank you very much for your input and for the answer to these questions. I think we can allow ourselves to take 1 minute for a short break, and then we'll start with the next presentation by Mrs. Lang from the IST Institute. Yeah, see you in 2 minutes. Okay. So.
Oh, should we start?
Yeah, I think it would be nice if we start. We heard a few questions about building project consortium from Charlotte Wallin, and I hope maybe we can answer some of these questions and maybe more questions about building a fundable and successful project consortium with the next input from Christina Lang from the IST Institute at the HTWG Konstanz. And yeah, I'm very happy to have you here and to get your input. So thank you very much. Should I present your presentation, or do you want to share it?
No, if it's okay, just let so if you're clicking through it, it's fine. So
Okay.
perfectly. Yeah, because I'm not sure whether my connection is enough. So it's full okay if you're doing it. That would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question at the beginning was, as we are participating in this A-Ring project, and we thought about, oh, what would be a good topic or an additional topic that we haven't looked at yet, and one that might fit to also the presentation of Mr. Faller was the thing that project consortium are getting at some point bigger, and in most projects, especially those funding projects, it's the tendency is that more different partners should be involved. So the tendency towards quadruple helix is one point. Another, and one big question is always to involve business partners. So, and business partners, especially either companies or business support organizations. And if we go to the first one, we as the EST Innovation Institute, so Institute for Strategic Innovation and Technology Management, our focus is on application-inspired research, which means that we try to really connect academia, business, and education, and combine it in a way that we create new knowledge based on application cases in practice. And we often do that by action research, so where we really include business partners, especially companies within our research projects, and then look how our knowledge and our project approaches or solution approaches are working in practice, and evaluated, and based on that try to adjust it, and through that create new knowledge. And the team is based on 4 PhD students and 5 academic employees, and we have different competence areas. Everything is around the topic of innovation, and nowadays also the digital transformation. And there we look on more from the organizational design perspective, so how to, and that on the side of startups. So that is also the research focus in terms of entrepreneurship. And on the other side, to look how established companies become more innovative and more entrepreneurial in the future. And that is covered by intrapreneurship or corporate entrepreneurship. And we do that for different industries, so cross-industry. In the past, it was dominated by mobility or the automotive sector and the IT and engineering sector. Nowadays, it's more going towards healthcare, as in this industries, digital transformation is the topic of today and in the next year. So they are having a lot to do there. And we have built up some resources. The first one is our strong cooperation and network with companies, especially of course in Baden-Württemberg, but also in Austria or in Switzerland, and have some cooperations there with regional companies, but also, and smaller companies, but also with big national groups. And we try to findings from research and best practices. We try to share them at different points, so either in publications or in on conferences or different events. And our approach is especially based on case studies and on interviews. So we're normally doing semi-structured interviews to really get new insights that are help us to grow our knowledge base. And there we have about over 10,000 interview minutes on the topic of corporate entrepreneurship. And additionally, our institute is kind of a living lab infrastructure where we experiment with different structures, with different tools. Nowadays, how to work together under the term of new work. And we have over the years, as we are project-based, so funded by public or private projects, we got some experience how to apply for funding, of course, but the important point where we think we have where we can add value to some application funding projects is to the way how we have the experience to interact with business partners. So as we have a lot of cooperations and as we want to be that at this application oriented or this application inspired point, we really have a strong focus to have a good connection to business partners and to involve them in different projects. And the idea was now to just talk about a few points or share a few experience that we got. They are not exclusively those points, and maybe other people have different experiences, but just as a first starting point. And to be honest, that was the first time that I really wrote down some points on that. So normally it's just something that we have in our institute, and it's more that we give this knowledge to new colleagues, to new PhD students, but not in a systematical way. And so we have different experience points. The first are some milestones that we think are important to build up such a consortium with, especially business partners, and on this point really focusing on companies. And the first part from our side is to build up a core team, so that there is one core team, and this should typically be consisting of the employees that are from the university, as they have mostly the time and are mostly the ones that are initiating those fundable projects. And setting up a core team with maximum 5 people, and there should be one, of course, as leading as a process lead, the one who knows what are the points from the application, and who has a little bit the capability to lead the process, to bring the people together and to have the overall perspective. And the thing is that this core team should stay at a low people should be involved, so that it's more flexible and can act more agile. And the second milestone is to build up a roadmap. So the process for on the one side, we're build up steps or phases where it's really focusing on to build up the concept for the project. And but always there should be steps where there is interaction with the partners. So the partners shouldn't be involved in every step, because I come to this point later, companies are of course also limited in their resources and their capacity. So it's really, it is valuable to think about the process, when to interact with the partners. And for this roadmap, we use different design thinking tools, as they, from our perspective, are really helpful to address a complex situation, which is the case for fundable consortiums especially when there are more people involved. Then the next step is to establish a structure and a room for shared working, so that especially in those times now, that there are rooms where we have documents where we can work together, and to work on the project simultaneously. And then what we learned over the last 2 applications for fundable projects with a huge consortium and also with different business partners is to organize the funding process or the application process in sprints, so that there is a first sprint for really ideation, where the core team, and if it's possible also already business partners, to come together to brainstorm what is the storyline, what is the idea for the project, and to come up with first possible partners that should be involved in the further process. And this could be either through workshops, input sessions, and of course some research should be involved. And based on this sprint, first sprint, when you have done an idea which partners from practice, from industry, from business should be involved, it, from our perspective, helps to categorize those partners, either if they are already involved or if then to find some. And we came up with 3 different types of partners. The development partners, those are partners that help to really work on the solution, on the new concepts, on the new products and outputs that will come out of the project. And the second type are application partners. So that are the ones that use the newly developed outputs within or during the project time. That could be, or from our perspective, it's often SMEs, for example, or companies where there's a problem, for example, to increase their innovation capabilities. And then during the projects, different concepts or different processes, steps are developed that help companies to become more innovative. And then during the project, there are some companies that in case studies or in pilot projects apply the newly developed concepts. And then we have those multiplicators that are mostly networks or some cluster organizations that help to then spread the results to a broader target group area. Then when the partners are kind of clear, then the acquisition phase starts, when to identify concrete target groups, concrete partners, and then to acquire them. I will talk on that a little bit later. And then we identify that it would be helpful to have another sprint phase where to, of course, specify the concepts from the first sprint phase, and thereby it's kind of helpful to involve some business partners to have their perspective, to already include some perspectives from them, to really then see okay, are we building on the right or correct hypothesis? Is our project going into the right direction? And will we, in the end, write a concept for new products or for new concepts that will then have the chance to be applied in practice afterwards? And to be a little bit more customer-centric or user-centric. And in the end, of course, it's always helpful to have letter of intents. So to write, send, and collect those letters from the business partners. So these are some steps. There could be more in between, but for now, that are the ones that we have identified from past projects. And there is one example how in in the sprint phase 1, what we used as a concrete tool to proceed in that. So the first thing is that we, in a first sprint in the ideation phase, there were several partners, so university partners, but already some from the business sector. And the goal was to get a first idea for a new funding project, and the whole process was based on design thinking methods. So we first created a persona for the specific target group that we want to address with the funding project. And in those cases, it were SMEs and employees of these SMEs. And afterwards, which you can see on this whiteboard, was to come up with first ideas for, of course, the idea for funding. So what is the whole funding project about? So what is the solution approach? What might be possible outcomes and activities? And the second part was to, okay, we already have to look on the structure, on the process, how we want to structure our funding project, what should be the process within to realize the idea or the solution approach, and to already try to connect them to several steps together. The third part was to have an idea about the team, and that is when the first idea comes up: which partners should we involve, which partners might be interesting, and which partners do we have a contact to already. So where is a direct connection already, so that we can talk to them immediately. And the fourth part was about the impact, but that is not something that should be included in all funding projects, of course. So, and this template kind of helped to really collect all those ideas and thoughts in a systematically way. And so to think or talk about a collaboration with business partners a little bit more in detail, we think that there are two different levels. The first one is how to address them, so how to connect to possible business partners that should be involved in a funding project. And the second one is how should the collaboration then look like. And for the addressing part, from our side, it's really important to understand that on the one side, you need business partners and companies in particular funding projects. So it's kind of given from the application that business partners and companies should be involved. But the thing is that typically the topic of resources, of available resources, is one key challenge. So, and therefore it helps to really understand that companies have, of course, limited financial and personal resources available. And mostly when they want to be part of a funding project, it's more like a hobby of individual employees. And companies are, not all, of course, but mostly that's not their systematic business that they are doing. And so it really helps to understand that, and based on that, the addressing part should be really concrete, so that you really pitch your problem, your solution approach, and the added value for companies, mostly in a one-pager that might be logic, and often in a first personal interaction. So it's of course helpful if you already have a connection to the company, but also if you don't have really those calls by phone or video call, to give the company an impression of your working style and how if there's a kind of connection that you can build on. And on the other side, when the company has decided to be part of the consortium, then the part of collaboration starts. And for us, 3 points came up that might be important. The one is role splitting, so that it's really clear what is the role of the company. And for us, it came up that the conception and the writing is done by the core team, which consists of employees from university, from the academic side, and that the business partner can add value by giving feedback or having adjustments and looking on it really from this application perspective, that they give feedback to say, okay, you had a hypothesis in the first place, but there are more aspects to consider, or it's totally different, and so on. And the second part is that to limit the effort of the companies. So to design those activities in the activity plan, for example, for where the company should be involved, should be really maximized or limited to the necessary effort. And one thing that's helpful is to ask these companies whether they have already existing plans for or plan future activities that are related to the funding project, so that you combine it. And then the companies have a more intrinsic motivation to be part of the project and put in more effort. And of course, you can use the companies for pilot projects, so integrate them as case studies or pilot project to evaluate and validate the solutions that you're working in with or working on within the project. And then the companies can directly apply them as a solution and have a added value for their company. I think there was one more. Yeah, it's just a brief collection of lessons learned that we had during different project consortiums. So what I've already said is this clear division of roles, so that there's a process lead, and of course the others team members are more than focusing on content, and then that you have different people that are then building the connection to the business partners. And most helpful is when you already have a connection to specific companies where you can build on the past relationship. Then continuous sure fixes with, of course, the core team, and also to integrate the business partners at some point of time to get feedback and to keep them within the loop. But there it should be really focusing only on necessary points. Then of course have some writing camps and to really make progress in writing, and focusing on specific target groups. That makes it easier to then integrate also companies when they really get the impression that their company is really the specific target group the project is working for. Then another point is it's when you're acquiring new business partners to your consortium, if you have reference companies that are already taking part, that is kind of helpful to for pitching and getting the interest from the company. Then when it's applicable, to give the business partners an active role combined with specific value that they have through the project, then you can increase commitment, because often it's really due to this resource topic, it's kind of sometimes a challenge to really include those business partners, and that they also take some activities. Then, of course, clearly communicating which problem you want to solve and what is the innovation behind the solution approach. And yeah, mostly it's helpful to have those letter of intent or letter of interest, and to have the commitment, and therefore also prescribing them, and then giving it to the business partners, and they can of course edit it, but to keep the effort for the business partners as low as possible. And of course, at the beginning, some speed dating formats are helpful if you're organizing them in a systematic way, so that there's a quick exchange on resources and competences at the beginning to evaluate which business partner is fitting to your project, and to really identify those that want to participate and that give the consortium also a further value, because at the end, the consortium, it's not always about the quantity, but about the quality, so that you have those business partners in the consortium that really help to make the project successful in the end. And create a consortium in a way that it is really shows that you really selected them due to a specific reason, because they have a specific resource or a specific competence, or really need the solutions that you try to develop through the funding project. And that is then a good argument also for the application and for the experts that are evaluating your funding application. So this was just a brief overview on our experiences, and of course there might be some more, maybe also experience that are totally different. But if you have further questions or points to discuss, I'm happy to hear. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christina, for your input. Yes, I would open the room for questions. So please don't hesitate to ask Christina any questions you have on this topic. Okay, so I don't think there are any more questions. There are no questions.
Philip has one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to give the other participants the opportunity. So thank you, Christina, for your presentation. Your experiences with including SMEs in research consortia, this matches absolutely what we are experiencing at BIFOR, where we have also often the situation to either support SMEs in partner search, or the other way around, searching SMEs to complement and take over the expertise, the needed expertise in the research projects. I wanted to ask you, because we had this a few weeks ago, the situation of if you also came across, also connected to case studies, that it's sometimes very interesting for the companies how the commercialization of the developed research can be organized, maybe in the consortium agreement, or if this is something you experienced is more attractive to companies if they are able to use the designs or developed technologies after the project in a commercial way. And I don't know if you have any experience or any from what you did in your processes here.
Yeah, so on the first point is that in our project it was less about technology that we had developed. It's more about either workshop concepts or some case studies that are showing by example what companies should do, maybe to be more innovative, what they should build up, and so on. And but I can imagine those things with that companies, I think they have should have an interest in using the developed concepts or the solutions in the end. So that should be one thing that should be given in some point. So we are always arguing to say, okay, here we have an idea, because we are kind of a more holistic perspective on what's going on, for example, in the digital transformation, and what companies should in which direction they should go, for example. And then based on that, we create some kind of project ideas, because you say there is a gap, there should be new concepts, there should be no products, for example. And with that, we go to several SMEs to say, hey, you as a company are our specific target group, and we want to develop a new method, for example, and you as a company can use that method then in the end, and to give them some incentives. And of course, it depends a little bit on what is the output of your project and how then the companies can use them. But in our area, as we are more on this conceptual area, on this methodological area, we always give the companies the chance to use the outputs of afterwards.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and that should be, when it's possible, I think that is also, because then you have this relationship from, okay, the SMEs should act as an application company or application partner in the project, and as a benefit, you can use then the method in the end. So then it's more this relationship where both parts or both sides have some advantages.
Yeah.
Because it should not be the way that we use those companies and they will not get something in return. That's not our philosophy of our project consortium should be. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions? Okay, so thank you very much, Christina Lang and Mr. Philipp Faller, for your inputs on the topic. Yeah, I hope all the participants got their questions answered. And if you have further questions for the presenters, please don't hesitate to ask, to contact them. We will send out the information from the presenters with a following up email, and you will have the chance to watch this webinar again, which will be promoted within the A-Ring project. So please make sure to follow the A-Ring project on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and you will get notified once the webinar is online. Otherwise, you can check out the website and find this webinar online. And yeah, thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much again for presenting the topics, Christina Lang and Philipp Faller. And yeah, have a nice afternoon and see you soon.
Thank you, Max, for moderating.
Thank you, Max. Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a nice afternoon.